Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 5th episode of the Animation Era, the podcast where I talk about certain topics such as gaming, film, or religion. And today's subject is a really important one to understand. It is the end times in murder drones. Now, in previous topics I've discussed about religious aspects inside of certain shows such as Has Been Hotel and Helluva Boss. But today we're going to talk about it in Murder Drones. Now at first glance you might think there's no religious aspects in Murder Drones, but there's actually a lot that you would just completely miss if you didn't know anything about religion or theology or anything like that in general. Just a quick warning, this will include spoilers for episode 7, so be warned. In episode 7 we can see Khan mentions the end times and the planet will all eat us soon.
It's the end times! If my wife's closet is right, the planet's gonna try to eat us soon.
Which is not a great thing, and I promise you that's not the same thing as the religious end times. It's just a reference to Copper 9, the world ending. It's the same as to Earth ending in the Bible. Now, the whole point of this podcast is to be chill, relaxed, not heavy, not deep or anything. So I'll give a brief explanation of what the end times is, but I won't go really deep into it because it's not really intended for an audience that is really young necessarily, because it can be scary, it can be exciting, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. The end times in the Bible is a time when Jesus died. He's going to come back and take all the Christians with him and leave the non-Christians. Now, as a Christian, I'm not saying that this is what you should believe or this is true or this is false. I'm just saying this is what Christians believe in. To move on to the next subject, which now that I've explained what the end times is, it's kind of similar to the end times in Murder Drones. Like Khan mentions, that the planet is going to eat all the drones that are on Copper 9. It's the end times for the drone. Now, another thing is the character Sin, which is spelled C-Y-N, is also pronounced as Sin, S-I-N, which is an action against God's law. It's like when you're in a country and you're born in that country and you commit a crime. It's kind of like that, right? Because God created the world, so you would follow his laws if you were a Christian. Same with if you were born in Canada, which I was, you would follow the laws that were placed for Canada. Now, Sin being pronounced as S-I-N is really interesting to me because Sin is the main antagonist of Murder Drones and also the original one with the absolute solver. So it is really interesting to me that Sin is the antagonist and is pronounced S-I-N. If you remember in episode 5, Louisa, which is Tessa's mother, called Sin the Antichrist.
They are not broken. We can no longer be thrown out.
Did that little Antichrist?
I told her to say that and brought her here. I just...
And the Antichrist is a very important word to be used. To some people, it may seem like a random word that was thrown out there. But if you've seen episodes 6 and 7, you can tell that Sin being called the Antichrist actually really fits that character description of Sin. Now, like I said before, I'm not going too deep into this, but I will explain a little bit of what the Antichrist is in the Bible. The Antichrist is a person who will come to Earth and claim to be God. And this will happen before Jesus comes back. So this person will claim to be God and claim to be the answer to everyone's problems and how to get into heaven. And that won't be the case, and it will deceive a lot of people. So Sin being described as the Antichrist is very fitting for her character, considering that she's the main antagonist and the one with the original absolute solver, which is trying to take over the entirety of Copper 9 and to try and eat all the drones on it. Now, to get one thing across, Sin isn't the absolute solver. The absolute solver is using Sin as a host. Sin is the main host for the absolute solver. Yes, at times, Nori and Uzi, as we can see in episode 7, have been used as a host for the absolute solver, but for the main point, Sin is used as the main host for the absolute solver. Because we can see in episode 5, there's some points where Sin is being herself, and there's some points where the absolute solver is controlling Sin, especially when Sin confronts Tessa to stay away from the gala.
Best stay away from the gala, though. You seem squeamish.
To summarize this entire episode, I would say that Sin is the Antichrist of this universe, and I think it's really well written on Sin's character, Sin's design, and the Absolute Solver. I think it's so well written, and I would highly, strongly suggest you guys watch the whole series. I really suggest it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and also at the end card, you will see the live reaction of me looking at episode 7, and also the previous video where we talked about the main storyline of Murder Drones. See you guys all in the next one. Goodbye.